So I wanted to come on here and talk about a parenting unpopular opinion when it comes to Islamic teaching. So a lot of time when we have a child, we want to teach them about the Quran, the word of Allah, the Arabic letters, and all that. We want to push memorization because oftentimes they absorb more at this age, and so we want to build a foundation, and we think that's the ultimate foundation. I do think that parents are changing their perspective on this, but a lot of parents are still heavy on memorization. And I have come to a different method on how I want to raise my child. Obviously, it's important to talk about the Book of Allah and to encourage ayat to be spoken about and to be discussed with their children. Like, I'm not trying to diminish it completely, obviously, but I really wanted to talk about this approach of focusing on the outside world and focusing on how we can build our children up for that world. If we were just to focus on the memorization and Arabic letters, we're not preparing them for the reality of the world, which is quite harsh. There's a lot of liars and cheaters, and there's a lot of this outside world that we need to help our children discover and to stabilize in. There's a lot of harsh realities, and we have to do our best to explain it to them in the right way, and we also have to protect them as parents. And it kind of goes hand in hand. Like, by protecting them, we teach them. I really wanted to talk about how a child's brain works compared to how we work in the real world. We are able to have a good grasp on what Islam teaches in most cases, and when certain things happen in our day-to-day life, if there was somebody who treats you poorly, or whether that's a, a scenario that happens, if you hear bad news, if you hear good news, and things like that, a lot of like Islamic reminders come in our head, right? Whether an ayah comes in our head, whether that's an Islamic, like we think about Allah, we think about all like what our religion teaches. Like, we know the nitty-gritty of our religion, and so we are able to use that as a filtering system in handling day-to-day things. Whereas a child, they don't have those ayahs. Even if they're memorized it, even though they know and grasp it a little bit, they are still not as solid as we are, because our filtering systems are different than theirs. We have a different filtering system, and their filtering system is based on their parents' way of life. So what they think is, like, when something happens, they're like, how did my mom, they go into their subconscious of how their parents handled the situation, or, oh, I saw my parent do this when this happened. And they learn majority of everything from the way that their parents act, behave, talk. A lot of their subconscious is from their parents' behaviors, whereas we are able to have knowledge and personal experiences, whereas them, it's only really personal experiences that they're taking out into the real world. So that's why the 0 to 7, the formative years, is really going down into character. The way that Islam ultimately spreads is character. And I think often when we look, like, when I look at, like, this is an adulthood, when I look at my convert story, I literally converted because of other people's behaviors. How, like, at my workplace, I'm like, why is this particular, like, how the conduct is really intriguing. And ultimately, in Islamic history, merchants, they went to different land, and they converted so many people just based on their position as a merchant, right? So we have to understand, when our kids are situated wherever they may go, they have their, like, they have character, right? Manners is the base of everything. And even like, there's so many in my neighborhood, in local communities, there is half it, like, they're half of the, like, they're half like, they memorize Quran, and they are drug dealers. Astaghfirullah. But this is the reality. We, because nothing was built, like, how do we deal with this type of person? How do we deal with this? How do we, all these things? It just, is the only thing covering Islamic teaching, that it just it becomes a shell, right? It's a shell that we like. It's like a yeah, like the egg. You know what I mean? Like it's just like a broke. It's like you could just tear it apart, stuff on that, but it's not going to have much impact in a child's life, unless there is that, oh, my parents love this book so much, then I'm interested. Like there's a lot that goes into psychology about how we can get the book of Allah into them better, especially in this day and age. Going back to another point, I just thought of it but I lost it. I also wanted to talk about this aspect of called mini heartbreaks. Basically, when you're in the home with your child, and when you're in your day-to-day life, you have discipline, obviously with your child. So no, you cannot have this toy. No, can you wait? No, you have to do this. There's many heartbreaks that happen within a child. They're like, oh, I really wanted that, or oh, I wanted it this way. Like they have to have those many heartbreaks and that repair. So our kids need to have tough skin, right? That's an element of the outside world. And so that's one thing that I do in the 0 to 7 is that they need to have some they have to have some sort of resilience, and resilience comes from little heartbreaks, not getting what they want, understanding what spoiling a kid is and how that impacts them is very important in my life. There's going to be bratty behavior, but I don't want a brat. So I just analyze this always, like kind of going into myself and figuring it all out as a parent. I'm not perfect. I just wanted to share how do we implement, like what is an Islamic upbringing look like, what's an Islamic environment look like, and things like that.